What is going on, y'all beautiful people, man? Hope you guys are having an amazing one today. In this video, what we're basically going to be talking about is being able to overcome our fears and the power of being able to overcome our fears, and how that is actually going to change your life completely the more that you face your fears with actual conviction of actually wanting to go towards the fear instead of going away from it, and how that is going to change your relationship with that fear to help you be able to overcome the fears, but then also be able to do greater and greater things the more that you're able to go into that. So this is something I'm learning from this book called Letting Go by David Hawkins. And what he's basically talking about here is how once you start going away from the fear and kind of like running from it, which is also something else I've heard from a book called A Man's Search for Meaning, which is basically saying if you're going away from fear, it's not going, of course, it's not going to be good. But the way that we are actually going to overcome the fear is going toward the fear, actually going towards that thing that we fear most. And the only way out is through. If you keep avoiding it, that fear is just going to linger and linger and linger. But what he's talking about in this book, Letting Go, he's basically saying that it takes a lot of courage to have to overcome a fear, but a lot of courage to even face a fear. It's not saying that you're not going to have fear when you're going into situations, but being able to go into it despite that fear is where the courage really comes from. And the more that you go into places with courage despite the fear, you actually build self-esteem, versus when you constantly run away from the fear, you lower and lower and lower your self-esteem. We all know how that feels. That doesn't feel great at all. But he's saying that once you start to go towards that fear, the self-esteem builds because you're like, hey, I still did that despite having this fear. Not only does it build, a respect towards yourself, but it also builds a respect towards others, respect from others. But then, of course, the most important thing is respect for yourself. And here's the main thing. This is so powerful. He says that it builds a respect for ourselves in terms of when we're able to face the fear despite having the fear and having the courage. And the actual fear starts to diminish slowly but surely because you're building self-esteem when you start to, face it head on. Now, this is something I faced for myself recently, man, where it's like we have fears of, we all have our own fears. And for myself, one of the fears I have is having to throw up. I hate it. My girlfriend also has this fear, man. She hates throwing up. But I had to go into IHOP I work at IHOP right now, and I just got this job, and I started going for the first 4 days. But, the nerves are still there, and I felt it that morning. I think it was the third morning. I just felt it, and I did not want to throw up. I had a big fear of throwing up. I really did not want to have to do that. But I decided I was just reading about all this stuff, learning about all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go into this fear. So what I decided to do is just be like, okay, I'm going to accept, even if I have to throw up, I will throw up, because I learned this from the guy, George Munford, who's Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant's meditation coach. He said that when he wanted to do a TED Talk, he had to accept the fact that he might go up there and be a shaking, babbling buffoon. And if he could accept that, then he could continue to go there. And that's what I did. I said, okay, if I'm going to throw up, I'll throw up. I'll accept that. It's going to suck. I'm going to have a fear of it. And lo and behold, I actually did throw up, man. But it was I started laughing in the middle of it because it was just such a funny thing. It was just knowing that I didn't want that fear to roll over me. And it started to build the self-esteem hey, I freaking was able to do that over something that I feared. And then also at IHOP, when I was working over there, I had a fear of dropping a plate. I didn't want to freaking drop no plate, man. That was actually something that was going to be embarrassing. It was going to be hard. It was going to be everybody's freaking yelling and screaming back there. The manager is he doesn't really care about most of us. He's just really yelling and screaming, you know what I'm saying? And the coworkers don't seem like they really want to help you. So it was going to be embarrassing to drop a plate. But then I started to accept, even if I did drop a plate, it's okay. I'm going to accept that fully, and I'll be able to go into it and continue to keep moving. Lo and behold, I do drop a plate, and I still continue to move. I still continue to just be okay, I can laugh about it now. And that builds a self-esteem, knowing that I can handle these fears, I can handle these embarrassments. Now we can all build this by being able to accept and being able to trust God in these fears that we have. And it's so powerful because he continues to say that it's going to build that self-esteem when we are dealing with these fears. And we all have fears of anxiety, of stress, of embarrassing ourselves, of looking stupid, of people saying stuff. But the more that we can go into it, the more that we can know that we can handle that stuff. And we start being able to go into it in any situation. So imagine yourself being able to go into these situations and saying, hey, I accept the situation how it is. Even if I do have fear, even if I do have anxiety, I'm going to continue to do it with that thing, and knowing that it's not going to stop you. Then you start having fear and anxiety because of the fear and anxiety on top of that. And you start being okay, I'm not so scared of this anymore. And all of a sudden it starts to dissipate. I didn't throw up the next day. I felt a lot better, man. Not only that, I felt a lot better when I went into there because I felt that esteem being built, knowing that I just did that. And I was like, okay, I freaking threw up and I tossed up in the morning, but I'm still here and I'm still going to hold on to my faith, hold on to my joy and my love. And I did do that in that morning. So if we can do that every single day, imagine yourself continuing to build esteem off of that. And imagining where you're going to get to as you continue to build that esteem, how much you're going to be able to face those fears and do greater and greater things out there in the world. And I cannot wait to see what you guys are going to do out there. Love you guys very much, man. Hope you guys have an amazing one. Talk to you on the next video. Peace.